Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me. This is Ciara from Ciara T Designs, and today I have this really fun circle shape card to share with you. So let's jump right in. So this is a collab with a friend of mine, and I will talk about that a little bit here in a second. I just want to get the cards started. So to create my base, I did run the biggest circle die I own out of a nested circle set. There are a lot of circle dies in this circle set. I think there's like 16 dies altogether. This is an older die set. I've had it for quite a while. I'm not sure if you can still actually get it, but I will link a nested circle die set just down below if you're interested in checking that out, because that is what I used for this whole card. And I am using my bigger plates for my switch for this just because that circle is pretty big, so I wanted to use the bigger plates. You could use the smaller plates. It's just a little easier with the bigger plates for this. So I did cut it out twice, and that's what I'm going to create my base out of. I'm going to score just the top. I think I did about an inch in to score, and then that kind of gave me the fold for my card. And thank you so much to the ladies who helped me figure out this is the easiest way to make a circle card. If you guys have been with me for a while, you would have seen a video a while ago. And then in a vlog, Marcy sent me a card base to show me how to do a really easy circle card base. So thank you guys so much for reaching out to me and telling me how to do this in a really simple way. It's funny, last time I think I tried to die cut a card base, like a folded A2 card base into a circle. And this is vastly easier, but it's kind of funny, right? You don't know what you don't know. And then this is when I jumped back to my normal kind of sized plate with my magic mat just to cut through. This would be the second largest die set in this nested circle. So you saw I used the largest one for the base, and then I used the second largest one so that I could have a bit of a white border. And when Sharon reached out to me and asked if I wanted to do a collab, of course I jumped at the chance because I love working with other creators, and it's really fun, especially to work with other Canadian creators. So I get a little excited when that happens. So she asked if I wanted to collab, and I said, heck yes, let's go. And then we kind of had to come up with an idea of what to do for our collab. And so we were talking about, like our favorite techniques. And if you guys have been with my channel for a minute, you know that ink blending is one of my favorite techniques. I love it. It always turns out beautiful, no matter how experienced you are at it. And so that was kind of what I said. I love ink blending. And she's like, well, we got to do something a little more exciting than just ink blending. And I'm like, okay, fair. What are you thinking? So she came up with this really neat idea to bring in nested dies and kind of arrange them differently. You have to go and check out her card. I, of course, haven't seen it while I'm talking to you guys about this, but I'm really excited to see what she came up with. So the idea was to bring in a nested die set, whatever nested set you had. I used circles in my example here. And just kind of use it to cut the layers of the blended piece down into something different. So I know that Sharon's card's going to be phenomenal. I can't wait to see it. I hope you guys will go and check it out because she's a phenomenal creator. She's got a lot of great inspiration on her channel. It's definitely worth checking out. But this was her idea. And thank you so much, Sharon, for this cool idea because this card turned out super, super neat. So to jump back into talking about the card, I used a piece of HammerMill to cut my circle down because it's one of my favorite cardstocks to blend on. And then I brought in several of the Distress ink minis. I only own Distress ink in the minis. I own the oxide full pads, but I don't own all of the Distress inks in full pads. So I went through the color rainbow because I love vibrant colors. You can tell by my nails. I love vibrant colors. So I used squeezed lemonade, carved pumpkin, picked raspberry, twisted citron, Mermaid Lagoon, and wilted violet. And I did go over it twice, as you can see here, just because that helps smooth out the blend, especially with the Distress inks. The oxides are a bit smoother when you blend them, so they tend to go down a bit nicer, whereas the inks, because they're a dye, they are way more vibrant, but they tend to be a little harder for me to lay down. And I do have flat foams, just because those sit underneath the ink cubes perfectly. So I went through and blended it out twice. And then here I'm just going to add a little bit of texture to it. So I splashed on a little bit of clean, clear water to kind of add those droplets because, as you know, if you've worked with Distress products, they are water reactive. So I just added a little bit of water. And then I'm going to also add a little bit of Perfect Pearls that I keep mixed up in a little mini mister bottle here. And that's just going to add a lot of shimmer and shine to the background and just kind of make it a little more interesting to look at. You could have left it blended. I mean, it's fabulous. It's beautiful the way it is. I love vibrant colors. The rainbow is probably the most vibrant of all the colors. But I like to add some interest and texture into my backgrounds as well, because that just gives you a little something more to look at. And of course, we are going to die cut this, so it's not going to stay in this form anyway. So if you were a little unhappy with the slight browning to the center because of all those colors mixing, because if you know your color theory, I mean, there are multiple colors in here that you don't want to blend. Yellow and purple, you shouldn't blend, right? Like orange or green and pink shouldn't blend. They make brown. But I was really careful in the center. It just has a slightly darker hue to it. So just be aware of that when you're blending. And then now we're going to die cut out all of these really cool layers. So this was Sharon's phenomenal idea. I mean, I was going to do a blended panel because I love blended panels. I have a whole playlist on my channel of ink blending because it's one of my favorite techniques. But she had this idea to cut multiple pieces out of the dyed or the blended panel to create this really neat effect in what you're doing on the card. So I used my circle dies, and as you can see, I have several pulled out. So because there's so many dies in the set, I don't even know how many there are. It's the We Are Memory Keepers nested circle die, but I've had it for so many years, I don't even know if you can get it anymore. So if you can, I will have it linked and listed down below. If you can't, I'll try to find you something very similar to this so that you can recreate this if this is something you want to do. Or you could do this with any nested set. I just chose circles because I thought it would look really neat, but you could do this with squares or rectangles as well. It's just that I chose circles. So I pulled out every second circle from that die set. So I used the largest one to cut it. I used the second largest one to cut this panel. And then I'm going down every second layer to create these layers of the circle. And then I'm going to turn them slightly to kind of create this, I don't even know the right word for it. It almost looks a bit like a quilt. I'm not a quilter. That's not a skill I possess, but I've seen some phenomenal quilts out there, and it makes me think of a quilt. You guys let me know what it makes you think of, but the way it kind of went together with how the colors kind of stop when I go and put it together here, you're going to see that, to me, it reminds me of a quilt. It also, if you'd brought a little black in, this would have been a really cool galaxy card. I didn't, because that wasn't what I was going for today, but that would be a super neat idea for this as well, because you have so much really cool vibrant color. So if you brought in just a little bit of black, you could have totally turned this into a really cool galaxy card. But yeah, so I'm going to cut that last piece. And this one I struggle with a little bit just because I was having a hard time getting it not to skip. I didn't tape this because I was worried that even low tech tape might try to lift some of my color. So I chose to just lay the die on top and cut it. You could tape it, just be very aware that you want to be really careful peeling it off. That's just kind of how I roll. And honestly, I didn't need everything to be perfect. My layers aren't perfect. Some of them are slightly wider on one edge or slightly thinner. They're still going to look really cool. Because, you're going to see this really cool technique right here that I'm just slightly shifting each layer or each circle, I guess, so that the color is in the next color, if that makes sense. So I kind of was aiming on the yellow to line it up. So you can see here on the top one, I have the next layer of yellow slightly off. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. You can see it happen as we go here, but so make sure you go and check Sharon's channel out. She has a lot of great stuff on there. I've known Sharon pretty much since I started my channel. We were in a group together back a few years ago, Team Tiny, if you guys have been with me since the beginning, and I started out in that group, and it was a group for people who had less than 1,000 subscribers. And of course, Sharon was, leaving the group as I kind of entered it, because she has been doing this a bit longer than me, but that's how we originally met, and that was a few years ago. And we've kind of stayed in touch on and off throughout the years. Life is busy, so sometimes that gets hard. And it was really cool because we were just discussing some YouTube stuff recently, and then that's when she asked if I wanted to kind of do a collab together. And of course, I jumped at the opportunity because why wouldn't I? It's always really fun to work with other creators because you come up with these different ideas. I wouldn't have thought to do this with those circle dies. And look how phenomenal that card turned out, right? So it's really fun to work with other creators because you get just really different ideas. And, you can kind of discuss stuff that's going on because not everybody understands how much work goes into a video and, maintaining a channel and maintaining a social media presence and all that stuff. So it's always kind of fun to discuss it with somebody else who knows how much work it is and how much, how fun it is, but it's a lot of effort. So So it was really cool. So thank you so much, Sharon, for inviting me to do this collab. I really appreciate it. And then for this part, I just really wanted to add some butterflies on top. If you've been with my channel for a little while, you know that I love everything snowflake and butterflies. I'm drawn to them. So this is just a set from Tim Holtz. It is the Brushstroke butterflies, and it comes in those 2 layers. So I cut the base layer out of some heavy vellum, and then I cut the kind of highlight layer out of white glitter cardstock. And you're going to see here in a second when I hold it up how pretty this is. But I wanted it to be very subtle because I didn't want it to steal thunder from the background, but it needed something on top of it. So I decided to just bring in these really pretty butterflies because I think that they would have added something. You could, of course, have brought in a flower. A flower would have looked stunning with this as well. I mean, I lend towards flowers and butterflies just because that's kind of my thing. And originally you saw me cut out 2 of the small butterfly and 1 of the medium. I opted in the end to use the large butterfly instead, so I just cut it out and did the exact same layering that I did with the other 2. And I had a lot of fun making these butterflies because they turned out stunning. And then I just kind of layered them up around the design so that they could kind of not hinder the background but add to it. And I'm only adhering the center of the butterfly because that allows the wings to be free and kind of give you a bit of movement on top of this really colorful panel, which I thought was quite pretty. And then I'm going to bring in a sentiment, and I went back and forth on a sentiment for this for a while, but I think in the end I went with a Tim Holtz sentiment strip sticker because I thought it kind of fit with this design. It is black, but that's because I needed it to hold up against all this super vibrant color, and I was worried that it wouldn't. So I ended up just adding that kind of in the bottom there, and that helped kind of tie all this together, and it still pulls your eye, but it doesn't really compete with everything else that's going on in this card. And I think that that turned out really pretty. And then because I can't leave anything alone and I need everything to have something shiny on it, I did go and add some of these Arctic Breeze pearls just for a little added shimmer and shine in this card. So that is the card I created. I am in love with it. I would love to know what you guys think. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think of this card and how it came together and that really neat technique that Sharon came up with, because I am in love. I cannot wait to see what she created with that idea because it's just such a cool idea. So let me know what you think. Leave me a like, leave me a comment, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. I do new videos every Monday and Thursday. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.